Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about R.C. Sherriff's play Journey's End, which I read last week while on a short little holiday. This is a really cracking play. I think it reminded me a lot. No, let's start that again. Hello and welcome back to today's video. I'm going to be talking about R.C. Sherriff's play Journey's End. I read this last week and I have to say I really enjoyed it. I try and read plays every sort of 2 or 3 weeks. It's quite a nice way of feeling like I'm kind of getting through some of my reading lists, but also it's just a very different experience from reading a novel, and it really helps me develop my sense of kind of language, and I think you get a greater sense of relationships and how dialogue sort of works in terms of relationships. So sort of, I guess, dialogue as a tool, if you like, for furthering things like plot and dynamics between characters. So this book, or rather this play itself, was set in the First World War, and it really is set all in a what's called a dugout. So that's sort of a space just sort of next to or beneath the trenches. And it's where the officers live and rest and sleep and that kind of thing. And it concerns about four central characters. You've got Stanhope, who's a kind of 21-year-old commanding officer, Osborne, Trotter, Hibbert, and then probably the second most important character, Raleigh, who has just left school, and he joins them at the trenches. And Raleigh is this kind of very naive, exuberant young boy who went to school with Stanhope, and he kind of worships and sort of idolizes Stanhope from when they were at school together. Stanhope was a few years older. And there's this sort of really tragic scene where Stanhope's kind of just aware that he's going to be viewed in this totally different light because he sort of drinks all the time. He's basically become an alcoholic to kind of anesthetize the horrors of the First World War, of living in the trenches, of seeing people, killed kind of constantly. And they have a really kind of interesting tension between them, this kind of idealization of the young Raleigh versus the kind of extremely jaded, perfectly reasonably jaded perspective and sort of view of life. Something I thought was really interesting about this, it reminded me a lot of kind of Evelyn Waugh. So if you've Evelyn Waugh's Vile Bodies. So if you get an opportunity to read that, there's kind of quite a lot of similarities, kind of because it's dealing with the sort of upper class kind of public school boys, and there's this very Jeeves and Worcester-esque. Again, if you've ever read Jeeves and Worcester, I strongly recommend that. But this sense of everything will be all right in the end, and this extremely kind of British upper class humour of, I'm not even sure if it's upper class humour, but certainly British humour of understatement. So, when things go very, very badly, they're all kind of talking, oh, isn't it a jolly shame this is happening, and that sort of thing. And there's a moment where Raleigh says of the war, it all seems rather silly, doesn't it? And that's kind of just a very British way of looking at things, kind of this sort of dark understatement. And that's kind of... It really makes the tragedy all the worse. I do recommend reading this in one sitting. It can probably be done in about an hour and a half. And you'll enjoy the relationships there. There's a little bit of light humour that comes through as well. Not a huge amount, I have to say. It's sort of quite dark all the way through. But there's a little bit of kind of catch-22 humour. It also actually reminds me of Blackadder. So if you've seen any Blackadder, which I recommend very highly, I think, is it Blackadder Goes Forth, I think, where, again, they're in the trenches and it's during the First World War, and these sort of scenes of sort of hilarity but also tragedy meet. So yeah, it's a really cracking book or play, and it does end pretty sadly. So if you don't like sad stuff, probably give it a miss. But if you're into your war stories, or if you just fancy something a little bit different, I do recommend it. I'd probably get the Kindle version. I find it a bit frustrating. Penguin, they do these modern classics which cost £9, but they just feel super cheap. The paper, I don't know what it is, but yeah, very cheap. But the book itself, really worth a read. And I'll put a little link in the description below so you can kind of find that at a local bookshop. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I'd love to hear if you've read any plays recently that you'd recommend, and please leave some comments down below. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.